Morning, dear learners. Welcome to teaching learning session of sociology. Today we will discuss about approaches of social stratification, various approaches of various scholars. We'll start with Karl Marx. Karl Marx, as we know, Karl Marx is regarded as one of the greatest thinkers of all time, and we discussed about Karl Marx in our previous lectures too. His main contribution to understanding society and social process through his theory of historical materialism. We discussed about the theory of historical materialism, right? That he tried to understand the social processes, society through the theory of historical materialism, and this presented a radical alternative to the traditional view. Marx tried to understand the social development in terms of the class conflict. According to the Marx, that the classes has emerged from the previous classes because of the class conflict, right? According to the Marx, right, that there was a that this feudal system arose from that slavery system, and feudal system has given rise to the capitalistic system, and there was a class conflict in each and every system, and these conflicts were and will be responsible for the development of a new society or development of a new era, right? So Marx tried to understand the social development in terms of class conflict. According to the Marx, there were two classes in each and every society. One was the dominant class, and another was the dominated class, right? And because of their differences in the classes, because of their economic differences, power, political differences, there will be or there were class conflict, and these class conflicts were and will be responsible for the social development. Social stratification was central in his analysis. Stratification means division of the society, right? So social stratification was the central idea of his analysis. On the one hand, he saw it as a divisive rather than an integrative structure, and on the other hand, he saw it as an inevitable for social development, right? According to him, this social stratification is responsible for the division in the of the society, division in the society. It is a divisive rather than an integrative structure, and on the other hand, he saw it as an inevitable for the social development. It is required for the social development. Marx used historical materialism as the theory to understand the social change. All living thing depends on the nature for the survival, and human being also depends on the nature for its survival. The basic difference between human being and other living thing is that they can transform nature for their survival, and means that the human beings are able to produce their own means of subsistence. See, everyone depends on the nature for their survival, even human or other living things. According to the Marx, the only difference between the human and the other living thing is that human can transform the nature for their survival according to their need, right? And it means what he wants to say in that human beings are able to produce their own means of subsistence. They can produce the means through which they can survive. Marx therefore noted in his work German Ideology that men can be distinguished from the animals by the consciousness, by religion, or by anything one likes. It was through production that human being developed. According to the Marx, the reason for the human development of human being is production. It is because of the production. It is because of the economic activities, as economy is the central idea of all of his theory and the work, right? So it is because of the mean of production, it is because of the production that human being developed, that human being evolved from one stage to another stage. And you can distinguish the between the animals and human being on the basis of the consciousness. Human being have consciousness, they know what to do, when to do, and how to do. They You can differentiate between the human beings and other on the basis of religion, and on the basis of economy and other thing. They can change. Human being can change the nature according to their needs. They can produce their um, they can produce their own. Division of labor. Through the development of technology, human beings were able to improve agriculture and could form these settled communities. In earlier societies, all people preferred to perform similar activities which were needed for the survival. That is, they were indulged in producing the food, they required the clothes and the shelters. These were the basic needs. In fact, these are the basic needs. And once there was a surplus, it was possible for people to diversify their activities. Some produced food which was sufficient to feed all, while others were engaged in other activities, and this was called a division of labor. According to Marx, there was a division of labor in this society. Right, few were engaged in activities like producing food. Another group was indulge in activities, say construction. Another group, say third group, is indulged in another activity. Right, so in this way people are involved or indulged in other activities, and they produces for their own consumption as well as for the others. Right. Right, so they were the people perform activities that were needed for their survival. Right, once their produce are surplus, then they can diversify their activities. Some produces food which was sufficient to feed all, other were engaged in other activities, and then they can survive by exchanging the items or produces. Right, or purchasing the item or the produces. And this was the only division of labor, that people were engaged in activities, in some kind of activities. Another group is engaged in another kind of activity. And this system resulted in some people gaining control over means of production by excluding others. And this division of labor, because people, those who have money, right, this system, because people are engaged in a particular activities, this system has given rise to a capitalistic system. Or you can say in another word, this system is resulted in some people gaining control over mode of production or means of production by excluding others. And thus property, which was held by all under the direct control of only some members, giving rise to the notion of private property. Right, and hence now the interest of all people were no longer common. See, there was once upon a time there was a system where everyone owns the mode of production. The owns of productions were common, and that those modes of production belong to everyone. Right, then it has given rise to another society, that was the master slave society. Master was the one who owns the mode of the production, and slave used to work for them. And because of the class conflict, it has given rise to the feudal system. Feudal system is master owns the mode of production again. Right, feudalistic system. In feudalistic system, labor worked for the masters, or the for work for them, or they earn money, they produces for the master. And because of again this class conflict, it has given rise to another system, that is known as the capitalistic system. In capitalistic system, there are the two classes, that one is the capitalistic and a capitalist, and another class is workers class. Capitalist is dominating class, and this is worker class has been dominated by capitalist. Right, and the capitalist in capitalistic system, capitalist. In master slave system, masters. And feudalistic system, the who owns the land, agriculture land, they all were the master. They owns the mode of production. Right, and they exclude others. right? So this property that this has given rise to the notion of private property, right? Because property belongs to few, and now the interests were no longer common to the society, right? Everyone works for their own interest, right? There were difference in the interest, and thus the interest of individual became different from the interest of the community. And Marx stated that division of labor and private property are identical expressions. And because of this division of labor, or this because of this private notion of the private property, it has created a difference in the interest, and everyone and then the because of this, that the interest of an individual become different from the interest of the community, and everyone wants to work for their interest. They want to fulfill their interest, and the individual interest became different from the community interest, and it implied the contradiction between the individual and the community interest. And because of this division of labor, because of this private property, this has given rise to the contradiction between the individual and the common interest. These differences, which occur in the human society, which are due to the existence of private property, led to the formation of classes which form the basis of social stratification. In all stratified society, there are two major groups: the ruling group and the subject group. Now, this is the crux. See, because of this, because of difference in the interest, right? And few owns the mode of production and excludes others. This and there were the difference in the interest, that the difference of an individual, the interest of an individual differs from the community interest. And this difference, which occurs in the human society because of the private property, is the formation of classes, because who owns the mode of production, they are known as the ruling class, and those who don't own the mode of production are known as the subject class or the dominated class. And this is how this society differ, and this as given this for these classes forms the basis of social stratification. That is, we have divided the society, we have stratified this society, right? There we discussed about the various factors or the dimensions responsible for the social stratification. It could be economic factor, it could be power factor, it could be status, or many other things. So according to the Marx, economy is one of the factor which is responsible for the social stratification, because those who owns the mode of production, they form the dominated class, and those who don't own the mode of production, they are known as the subject class. So there is a difference, and this has given rise to social. These factors are responsible. This private property, that is existence of the private property, led to formation of social stratification, led to the formation of classes. And these classes, according to Marx, these classes are responsible or the basis of the social stratification. The ruling class exploits the subject class. As a result, there is a basic conflict of interest between the two. Those who the dominating class dominates the dominated class, or the ruling class exploits the subject class. As per Marx, the various institutions of the society, such as legal, political, or the religious system, are instrument of the ruling class domination and serve to further its interest. So, as per Marx, those who owns the private property, or those who owns the mode of production, or the ruling, or in another words, a ruling class, all other institutions of this society, right? Like religious institutions, legal institutions, political system, they all are the instruments of the ruling class, and they work for the benefits of the ruling class as per Marx, right? And all these institutions, along with those dominated class, exploits the subject class or the Dominated class. Meaning of a class. What is the meaning of the class? Marx use the term class to refer to the main strata in all stratification systems. Class is the basis of social stratification as per Marx. So Marx used the class to refer to the two strata in all stratification system. These classes are the stratas. There are two major social group in all stratified society: a ruling class and a subject class. So as per Marx, the society is divided on the basis of class. There are two strata, that is on the basis of classes, and the ruling class derives its power through control over the means of production. It thus able to appropriate the labor of another class. So what is the class? So according to Marx, class are the two main strata in all stratification process, and there are two major social groups in stratified society. One is the ruling class. Ruling class is that class who owns the mode of production, and the subject class who don't own the mode of production, who works for the ruling class. Class is a social group whose members share the some relationship to forces of production. This is fact distinguished from one class to another. Right? That is, Marx divided the classes on the basis of mode of production. There are two groups: one who owns the mode of production, and others who don't own the mode of production. Right? So those who owns the mode of production forms a one class, and those who don't own the mode of production forms the another class. There is a relationship of dependence between the classes. See, there is a dependence. Both classes depends on each other. The ruling class depends on the this dominated or the subject class, and the subject class depends on the ruling class. There is an interdependence between the classes. If one class appropriate the labor of another class because of its control over the mode of production, it means that the two classes are dependent on each other, but they are also opposed to each other. The dialect of the class, therefore, is a result of combination of dependence and opposition. Right? These classes are dependent on each other. Those who owns the mode of production and those who don't own the mode of production, right? They depends on these two classes are dependent on each other. They both depend on who will use the mode of production, how will the dominating class produces and will earn profit. They depend on the worker class for the production, and the worker class depends on the dominated class for their survival. To earn money, they need jobs. Right? So they are dependent on each other, but again, because they are interdependent, there are oppositions too. They are opposed to each other. So both things exist in the same classes. They are dependent on each other, and they depend on each other, and they oppose to each other. They also opposed to each other, and because of their dependence and their opposed, this results in combination the dialects of the class is a result of because of this dependence and opposition of classes on each other. Dialects means thesis and antithesis. If you remember, we discussed about the theory of dialects. That is, there are thesis, antithesis, right? Which has given rise to another thesis, antithesis theory. We discussed about the dialectical theory, and as per Marx, because of the dependence and because of the opposition of each and every class with each other, two classes depends on each other, and there is an opposition between the two classes. This gave rise to the dialects. These dialects of the class is a result of combination of dependence and opposition. The relationship between the classes is dynamic relationship which results in social changes. Right? So the relationship between the classes, there are the relationship between the classes, and this relationship is dynamic. It's not static. It changes with time. It changes with situation. So relationship between the classes, the dominated class and the worker class is dynamic, and because of this dynamic relationship, it results in the social changes. Right? This is why classes are central to Marx' approach or to social transformation, because the relationship between the classes is dynamic, and it give rise to the social changes. That's why classes are the central to Marx's approach of social transformation. The society transforms because of the dynamic nature of the classes. Right? In the Communist Manifesto, Marx wrote that the history of all society is history of class struggle. We discussed about the class struggle, right? So it is the history of all society is the history of a class struggle. In each and every in each and every society, there were the classes: the dominating class, the ruling class, and the subject class or the dominated class. The dominating class always exploited the dominated class, and there were the opposition, there was the conflict between the two classes, and these conflicted resulted and has given rise to another society. The conflict resulted in another society, right? So according to Marx, the history of all society is history of classes, of class struggle. In other words, the change in the history of mankind are caused by the conflict of the classes, and class conflict is the engine for social change. Right? So, social change depends on the social change. The conflict is responsible. The conflict, according to the Marx, the conflict between the classes is responsible for the social changes. Right? Growth of the classes. How classes grow? The development of society is through the process of class conflict. Right. This classes grow through the process of class conflict. The domination of one class over the other leads to the class conflict. When one class dominates the other class, then this gave rise to the class conflict, because the classes, as per Marx, the classes depends on each other and they are opposed to each other. Right? There are two classes. The one is dominating class or the ruling class, and other is the submersive class or the subjective class. And the domination of one class over the other leads to the class conflict. And alongside, the production process also develops due to change in technology, resulting in its improvement. This leads to change in the class structure as classes become obsolete with increase in production technique. New classes are formed replacing the old classes, and this leads to the further class conflict. Because of the class conflict, this has given rise to the another society, like from slave society. The slave society has given rise to the feudalistic society, and the feudalistic society, the conflict in the feudalistic society resulted in the capitalistic society. And as per Marx, the conflict in the capitalistic society will result into communism. Right? So the new classes are formed replacing the old classes because of the class conflict. Marx believed that Western society has developed through four main stages: the primitive communism, ancient society, feudal society, and capitalistic society. Primitive communism is where everyone owns the mode of production, right? It was a primitive communism. It has given rise the conflict in this society has given rise to the ancient society or the slave society. Here were the two classes: the master class and the slave class. Right? Master owns the mode of production, and slave were used to work for the masters, and there were the class conflict between the two classes, and it has given rise to the feudalistic society or the feudal society. Here are also, in this society, there were the two classes. One was the master class, and the another was the subjective class, ruling class, and the subjective class. In this society also, the subjective class owns the mode of production, and everyone else works for this ruling class. The subjective class worked for the ruling class, and there were the class conflict. And because of this class conflict, capitalistic society emerged. And in capitalistic society, again, there are the two classes: the dominated class and the dominating class. Right? And they are dependent on each other. Both classes are dependent on each other, but again there are conflict there will be, or there are conflict between the two classes, and as per Marx, this will give rise to a new society, and he named that society as communism. Right? Primitive communism is represented by the society of prehistory, those society which are dependent on hunting, food gathering, and which have no division of labor. From then onwards, all societies are divided into two major classes, that is, the master and slave in the ancient society, landlords and serfs in feudal society, and capitalist and wage labor in capitalistic society. Right? Labor power for production was supplied by the subject class, that is, by the slaves, serfs, or the wage laborers, respectively. That is, the slaves, serfs, and wage laborers. They all come under the subjective class. The polarization of classes into two opposite groups is result of class consciousness. This is a separate but related phenomenon. It is not necessarily the result of the class formation. Class consciousness is linked with the process of polarization of classes. A class can exist without its being aware of the class interest. In the major contribution of the Marx, the Capital, he comments that workers left on their own may not be aware of the class interest and being opposed to those of other classes. Without class consciousness, the working class is merely a relation to capital and is a class in itself. See, as per Marx, that is, the working class is a class in itself. They are not aware, they are not conscious about their class, about their society, right? About their interest, right? There is no class consciousness among the subjective class, and because there is no class consciousness, right, and the working is merely to relation to the capital, and they work just for the capital, and because of this they are the class in itself. And as per the Marx, the day will come when this subjective class will become a class for itself, and that when they become class conscious, when they become aware about their exploitation, how the dominating class are exploiting them, they will become they will revolt against that. As per this class struggle theory, he said that one day the subjective class will revolt against the dominating class, and that they will become the class for itself. Now this says with the subjective class don't have the class consciousness, and because of the lack of the class consciousness, the working is merely is relation to the capital, right? They are working for the capital, right? And because of this, it is a class in itself, right? And the day will come when the working class will become a class for itself. In his work, The Poverty of Philosophy, Marx observed that working class, which exists in this manner, is only the mass of individual and is a mere a class in itself. When it unites and struggle against the capital, it forms capital against capital, it form itself into class for itself. The interest is defense become a class interest. So the day when they will struggle, or when they will revolt against the capitalist, they will become the class for itself. The subjective class will become the class for itself rather than the class in itself, right? The interest it defends become the class interest. Class form the basis of stratification system in the society. Classes are related to the production process in each society. As per Marx, economy or the mode of production is responsible for the stratification of the society, because this mode of production forms the classes, and these classes is the base of the stratification of these classes form the basis of the stratification of the society, right? So class form the basis of the stratification of the society, and class is based on the mode of on the mode of the production, the one who owns the mode of production and the other class who don't own the mode of production. And the ownership of mode of production has given rise to the two type of the classes, and these two type of the classes form the basis of stratification of the society, right? Change in the class structure occur when there are change in the production process. Thus, the system of stratification in society dependent on the relation of the production or the mode of the production. How one is related to the mode of production. When there will be the change in the class structure, when there will be the change in the mode of production, the class structure will change and the stratification process will automatically change. So as per Marx, that is the stratification of society is dependent on the mode of production or the ownership of the mode of production or relation to production, dependent on the relation of production, right? A mode of production. Classes in society arise from a particular mode of production, that is the capitalistic mode of production, right? Those who owns the mode of production, they have the capital. This creates a system where in one section owns the modes of production and others don't. This get bifurcated into two classes, the capitalist and the worker. Mode of production is this has mode of production means those who owns the mode of production, those who owns the land, infrastructure, technology, capital, right? They are known, they form one class, and this class is known as the capitalistic class or the ruling class. And the other group is who don't own the mode of production, who works for the capitalist. And those who don't own the mode of production, right, they are known as the worker class or the dominated class, right? Class struggle. Class struggle is a recurring feature according to Marx in all societies. This struggle is inevitable because the ruling class in every society sows the seeds of its own destruction sooner or later. As per Marx, that in each and every society, the ruling class is itself responsible for its own destruction. Oppression, the economic, political, ideological, is a feature of a class struggle. Exploitation leads to rise of the opposed class. Thus, they feel alienated from the system which they help in treating. Without labor, for instance, the capitalists can never subsist. So, oppression is that the ruling class always try to oppress the working class. Then this will lead to the class struggle because of the exploitation of the working class, right? And because of this operation, the working class alienates from their production, right, from their production, and the workers are alienated, and the consciousness developed along which working class is formed. When they clash with the oppression, they overthrow the system, leading to a new stage of social formation and abolition of the private ownership society. So, class struggle in this theory. What Karl Marx tried to state is that there are the two classes in each and every society, and these two classes are interdependent, but they are opposite to each other. They opposed, right? That is the ruling class. According to the Marx, the ruling class itself is responsible for its destruction in each and every society, right? The ruling class the ruling class oppresses, right, the working class, whether it's politically, whether it's ideologically, religiously, or economically, right? And this oppression, because of economic oppression, political oppression, ideological oppression, this will result in the class struggle, right? Because of this exploitation, this exploitation will lead to the opposition between the classes, right? And because of this system, why it happens? Because the working class feel alienated from the system they help in treating, right. The capitalist class, that the working class alienates from their own production, right? Because it is the capitalist who owns the mode of production, or who owns that production, right? And those who produces that, they alienate from the others. They don't feel like that it is their produce or it is their product. The capitalist, those the capitalist feel, the capitalist owns that production, right? The workers are alienated, the workers alienated from their produce, and alienated, the workers are the workers are oppressed. The day, according to this, this happens, according to the Marx, this happens because the workers are not class conscious, they are class in itself. They are not class conscious, they are class in itself. And as per Marx, a day will come that when they will become a class conscious, right? And when they will become a class conscious, and they class conscious, then they will become then they will become class for itself rather than class in itself. When they will become the class conscious, when the consciousness comes into the working class, they will become a class for itself rather than the class in itself. And that they will overthrow this system, this capitalistic system, or this system. And this leads to a new stage of the social formation, right? And this will give rise to a new formation, a new social formation, and it will abolish that the private means of ownership, and this will emerge into a classlessness society. When the consciousness, when the working class becomes, when the working class will become conscious, then they will become a class in its class for itself rather than the class in itself, right? And that day a new society will emerge, that they will throw out all these private property, and a new society will emerge, and that society will be the classless society, right? Marx specified number of variables for formation of class consciousness. He specified various factors, or the various dimensions, or variables how, for the formation of class consciousness. The first is conflict over the distribution of economic rewards between the classes because of the economic differences. Easy communication between the individual in the same class position, so that the ideal and programs are readily disseminated, right? Because of communication. Growth of the class consciousness, in the sense that the member of the class have feeling of solidarity and understanding of their historical roles. Profound dissatisfaction of lower class over its inability to control the economic structure of which it feels itself to be exploited victim. Establish of political organization resulting from the economic structure, the historical situation, maturation, and the class consciousness. All these are the variable. Capitalist industrial society. Marx in capitalist industrial society identifies the two main classes: the capitalist who pays the wages, and the workers who receives the wages, that is the bourgeois and the proletariat. Marx predicted that the capitalism developed these two classes become more and more homogeneous, but as compared to him, Dendref argued the classes will become more and more heterogeneous, that is dissimilar, and working class get divided into three distinct level: unskilled, semi-skilled, and skilled manual worker with the divergence interest. So according to the Marx, right, Marx predicted that the capitalism develops these two classes become more and more homogeneous, that these classes will become homogeneous. But the neo-Marxist that is the neo-Marxist. Derendorf, according to the Derendorf, the classes will become more heterogeneous, right? The classes will become more and more heterogeneous, that is dissimilar in the dissimilar, and the working class will further divide into two. Rather than becoming homogeneous, the working class will further divide into three types, that is the unskilled, semi-skilled, and the skilled manual workers, right? Unlike Marx, who talked about two classes, Weber talks about the middle class also. According to him, as a capitalism develops, the middle class expands. Marx has taken into account the two classes only, that is the capitalist and the working class. But as per Max Weber, right? There is a middle class also. The capitalist, because of the capitalism, there is a development of a middle class. There is an expansion of a middle class. In the 19th century, Marxists predicted that the stage will come in the capitalist development when the middle class would sink into the proletariat. But during 1950s and 60s, a number of sociologists suggested that just opposite was happening. Right. According to the Marx, that a stage will come in the in the capitalist development, that the proletariat will sink. Right. That is the middle class. Sorry, middle class will sink into the proletariat. But there were the 1950s and the 60s. The sociologists suggested opposite to it what was happening. Right. So it was a Marxist approach. According to the Marxist approach, there are the two classes in the society. In each and every class, in each and every society, there was the division of labor, and the division of labor is responsible for the formation of the classes. And actually, division of labor, not the division of labor, but the mode of production, mode of production is responsible for the development of the two classes in each and every society, right? And this division of classes, or this division of classes, or the classes are responsible, or the base of the social stratification, right? And there in each and every society there were the two classes. One was the dominating class, and or the ruling class, and other was the subjective class. And according to Marx, that the mode of production is responsible for the formation of the classes, right? Formation of the classes. And when the classes are formed, the two stratas are formed. The one strata is of capitalist, and another of this subjective class strata, right? And this classes is responsible for the, or is the base for the social stratification. And as per Marx, a day will come when this society will become a classless society, right? Weberian approach of social stratification, right? Weber on stratification. Weber is regarded as one of the founding father of sociology. He is also originator of the most powerful alternative to the Marxist theory of society, right? He has given the theories alternative to the Marxist theory. Like Marx, Weber also believed that class was the basic form of social stratification in this society, or form of stratification in this society. So, as per Marx, as per Weber, that class is the base of the social stratification, right? He defined the term class according to the Marxist criteria, namely in relation to the ownership of property. Property and lack of property, according to him, were the basic categories of all situations, right? We discussed that. He went on distinguish between the two type of property ownership and non-ownership of goods and services. Those who owned the property offered goods, while those not owning had only their labor, power, and skills to offer. That is, those who own the mode of production, and those who don't own the mode of production. Thus, the factory owner can offer goods which were produced in the factory. His worker, on the other hand, can offer only their labor in exchange of wages. These were the two things, right? Those who owns the mode of the production, they were the capitalist, and the factory owner offers the good which they produced in their factory, and the working class have can offer their labor in power of exchange, labor power in exchange of wages, right? Class and life chances. See, according to Max Weber and according to the Marx, there were two classes, and the class, none of the two classes, there were the three classes according to the Weber. That the class, according to Max Weber and the Marx, the class is responsible for social stratification, right? But apart from this, that Weber has given stressed on many other things like the life chances. There are the classes, right? This class is the base of social stratification, but there are the life chances as per the Weber, right? Another aspect of class that Weber stressed was the class chances. This term relate to the opportunity an individual got during the various stages of his or her life. Life chances. What is life chances? As the name indicates, chances. Life chances is there. It is the opportunities. Life chances what the opportunity an individual got during the various stages of his or her life. The chances which you get during the various stages of your life stages during the various stages of your life, that is known as the life chances. At times you get the chance to change your life. You can move and we can move up or down, right? So as per Weber, there are the life chances, and life chances are the opportunities an individual got during the various stages of his or her life. An individual born in the worker's family receives a particular type of education, which in turn equips him or her for a specific job, right? So those who born in the worker family receive a particular type of a job, and then that it will which in turn equips him or her for a specific job. The employment opportunities for both are different. Their different family background can also make them part of different classes. The same pattern can be seen in the social interaction and the marriages. See, the life chances. See, according to the Max Weber, life chances plays an important role. What is the life chance? The opportunity which one got during the life and during the various stages of the life, right? The thing is that those who are born into that, the family plays an important role, and then individual who are born in the workers family receives a particular type of an education, right? And in return they will equipped with a specific type of a job, right? But the employment opportunities, there could be the employment opportunities, because when you have got the different type of education, because an individual born in the workers family, that suppose A has got a chance to get different type of an education, and B the different type of education, right? The employment opportunities for both are different, and the different family background also make them a part of a different class, because of their education, because of their difference in the education, because of difference in their life chances, because of difference in their family background, they form a part of a different classes. The same pattern can be seen in social interaction and the marriage. Life chances or member of a class were similar. This is what gave a permanence to a class as the next generation to join the same class. Therefore, the definition of life chance, according to Weber, is the sharing of economic and the cultural good which are available differently to the different groups. Right? So, according to the Max Weber, right, life chances or the members of classes were similar, right? See, according to the Max Weber, life chance is the sharing of economic and the cultural goods which are available differently for the different groups. The life chances as an individual were largely determined by the market situation. This is important, right? See, as per the Max Weber, that is the life chances is sharing of economic and cultural goods, right? Which you share the economic and the cultural goods which are available differently for the different goods or different groups, because different group owns the different they have different economic positions. They could be culturally different. So life chances as per Weber is sharing of economic and the cultural goods, and which are available differently for the different groups. And the life chances basically depends on the market situation. So according to the Max Weber, market situation plays an important role. Market situation is an important variable in life chance. The market situation becomes a more important for a property less, as they have to depend mainly on the production of services, as they possesses only their skills, and they cannot market anything else for their existence. So market situation, that the life chances depends on the market situation, and market situation particularly plays an important role for the property less, those who don't own the mode of production, because they have only their labor to sell, they have only their services and their skills to sell. They cannot marketing anything else for their existence. They can offer their services or the labor in exchange of wages. So market situation plays an important role, or it is very important for the property less, right? For Weber, class had two basic aspects. First is it was an objective category. It was determined by the control or lack of control over productive properties of the members. And secondly, all members of a particular had similar life chance, which in turn distinguished these members from the another. So according to the Weber, there are the two main important classes. There are the two main important aspect of the classes. First is whether they have the property, they have a control over the production property or not, right? If you there could be the two classes, there could be the categories on the basis over the control or lack of control over the mode of production. Those who have a control over the production, and those who lack the control over the production. And secondly is all members of a particular had a similar life chances, right? Which in turn distinguish the members from the other, because those who belong to a one group, they have a similar type of a life chances from those of other group, and this in turn distinguish the members from each other. The life chances of an individual depends on their market situation in case of those not owning the production property, and on the ownership of production productivity of their owning these, right? So life chances of an individual depends on their market situation, and market situation especially for those who don't own the production property, right? Based on this, Weber identified the four classes in the capitalist society. Upper class, that comprised those owning or controlling the productive property. This class was similar to the bourgeois or the capitalist class in Marx, right? So according to the Marx, there were the four classes in this society, in capitalistic society. The first class is capitalist, or those who owns the mode of production. Second is the white collar worker. This class include all those who were engaged in the mental labor, that is manager, administrators, professional, etc. Right? So first class, the upper class, those who owns the mode of production. Next is the white collar workers. White collar workers includes all those who are engaged in the mental labor, like administration, professional. Third is petty bourgeois, means those who were self-employed, and they includes the shopkeepers, doctors, lawyers, etc. So petty bourgeois. And third is manual worker. These people sold their physical labor. These people sold their physical labor in exchange of the wages. Working class. Working class was included in this class. Weber thus divided the society in the four classes as opposed to the Marx two class model, right? Hence, Weber found the basis of class formation was similar to the Marx. He differed from the Marx on the type of classes in the society. So the base for the Marx as well as for the Weber is a mode of production, own of production. But Marx divided the society into two classes, the bourgeois class and the working class, while Weber divided the society into four classes. The bourgeois are the capitalist class or the upper class, right? Those who owns the mode of production. Then the white collar jobs or the white collar workers, those who are engaged in the mental labor. Third is petty bourgeois, that is petty bourgeois are those self-employed. And then the manual worker, that is the working class, was included in this manual worker, right? Then according to the Weber, status is an important variable, right? Status is an important variable for the stratification of the society, right? We discussed about the status in our previous lecture. What is status? Status is nothing but the position which one holds in the society. That is the status. Like Marx, Weber also distinguished between the class and class consciousness, right? For Marx, class consciousness was an important aspect of the class. A class could articulate its interest if it was conscious of its existence as a special group. Weber too talked about the class consciousness, but he did not think it as a necessary for existence of a class. Instead, he looked for an alternative to class consciousness and he found it in the status. Weber noted that where an individual's class situation need not led to his becoming a class conscious, he was always class conscious of his status. See, status is the position which one holds. This Max Weber and the Marx and the Weber, they also distinguished between the class and the class consciousness. Right. As per Marx, class consciousness was an important aspect of the class. Right. As per Marx, the class could articulate its interest if they are class conscious, right, of its existence as a special group. If you are class conscious, then only you can articulate your interest. A class could, as per Marx, a class could articulate its interest only if they are class conscious, right? But Weber also, according to the Weber, that class and class conscious are important, but according to Weber, class consciousness is not necessary for existence of a class. Rather than the class consciousness, he stressed upon the status. He looked an alternative for the class consciousness, and the alternative for class consciousness is the status, right? Marx has given, according to the Marx, class consciousness is important, and Weber has given the name, has renamed the class consciousness to the status. He has renamed class consciousness as a status, right? We'll discuss about this further, right? In our next lecture today, we discussed about the concept that is the Marxian view on social stratification, and we started with the Weberian view, right? According to the Marx, that class is the one. Class is the base of the social stratification, and in each and every society there were the two classes, and these two classes were responsible for the stratification of the society. And as per Marx, these classes were interdependent on each other, but the conflict also exists in between the classes, and this conflict has given rise to a new society and will be responsible for the new society will give rise to a new society. Weber, and then we discussed about the Weber. According to the Weber, then again the class. There are the class is the base of the social stratification, right? Marx has divided the classes into two, that is the dominating class and the dominated class, that is the capitalist and the working class, whereas Weber has divided the classes into four. The first is the bourgeois class or the upper class, then the white collar class, then the petty bourgeois, and then the working class, right? Marx discussed about the class consciousness, right? According to the Marx, a class could articulate its interest if they are conscious about their classes. That it is very important that class should be class conscious, then only they can articulate about their interest. But as per Weber, that class consciousness is important, but according to the that Weber, class, he said that status plays an important role, right? He looked for an alternative to class consciousness, and Weber found the alternative of a class consciousness in status. And we'll discuss about this in our next lecture. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.